So I want to do a little video showing you how the chickens use these feeders and the system that drops the feed on demand. You see one in there now pecking away. You'll see her probably in a minute. She'll grab the end of it, the edge of it, if there's nothing coming down, and she'll kind of peck it toward her, and that allows her to get more seed to drop. So they learn very quickly how to use that thing and get the food on demand. And so that's how that system works. You can see actually food is dropping just by the action of her pecking at the bottom. More food is dropping, so it basically always stays full. And you have different gauge washers inside that green structure, so you can adjust it. If you want less feed to fall, you use a smaller gauge washer. If you want more feed, you use a larger gauge. And you can, depending on what kind of feed you're providing. I mean, this thing can provide pellet feed, it can provide layer mash, it can provide a crumble, which is what I'm providing. So it's very versatile, and you can find that on the web. And you just essentially cut out your own hole in a regular 5-gallon bucket, and you add that mechanism to the bottom, and it's very user friendly, very easy to install, and keeps the feed clean too. Since I'm at it, let me describe for you this nippler system that I have. Again, it's a simple bucket that you can buy. I buy these tops that are, you can find them online. They're sealed tops that you can screw on or screw off, and the same as for the feed. There you see it's same mechanism, but essentially it's just a regular 5-gallon bucket that I add this top to, and you basically push it down on top, and it goes over the lip, and then it has the top built into it, and the top has a gasket on it. You can see that white gasket in there, and that helps to keep it sealed so that you don't get junk getting in there. But you can see from the inside, these little nipplers are just essentially screwed in. They're screwed into the sides. You create a little hole, then you screw these things in, and you can buy these online. And again, the chickens, what the chickens do is they come up and they learn very quickly that when they peck it, it leaks water. And so it's got kind of got like a little rubber gasket on the inside that when you push, you see how it kind of pushes in, and lets water, and it's got a little rubber gasket around it. So it seals when it's not pushed in, it seals. You see how that's when the water's coming out, that's when it's sealed. And so it doesn't leak, but the chickens can learn to come up and peck it when they need water. And the reason that I like this system for watering over the normal, I have these little trays that I put out once in a while if I see the chickens are going to the dirty water sources, is that a chicken will essentially find the dirtiest water source it can, and it'll drink out of it. It's kind of like a dog will do the same thing sometimes. And so when I'm cleaning out the coops in the morning, you can see I get, just by virtue of the water spraying, I get little puddles like this. And even a little puddle like that, a chicken will come up and want to drink out of it. And because there's a lot of poop underneath and it's seeping into that water, well, of course, they get a lot of what are called oocysts, which is a whole other topic, but they get a lot of worm cysts and eggs that they naturally poop out. Well, they're ingesting them, and they're keeping that life cycle going. So what I like to do is, if I see them, when I'm cleaning out the coops in the morning, if I see them attacking the water there, I usually put out these little 2 pans so that that they will see them and want to come here instead of trying to get water out of the mucky stuff over there. But during the day, these waterers, and I have one in each of these coops, and I also have one in the barn over here, the little shed. It keeps the water source clean. It doesn't get fouled up. I used to use a water trough that I used for bigger animals. I used to have this water trough over here. There's the other waterer there. I used to use this water trough here. Well, the problem was the chickens would come up, they'd get on here, and then they'd land here, and they'd perch, and they would drink from here, but then sometimes they would turn around and stay perched, and then they'd start to poop in the water. And so I'd come, and the water was always fouled up, and I'd have to empty out 120 gallons of water or whatever, or I guess that's 45 gallon, empty out 45 gallons of water, and waste all that water. Well, this way, it's off the ground, it's hanging, I have it hanging from the ceiling. It's off the ground and they can't get on top and poop into it because the lid prevents that. And they can come up and get water whenever they need it. So it works out very, very well for what I need. So that's kind of how I feed and water. I have other structures that, I have here for things if I want to put something in there for them to peck at that I don't want on the ground. If it's got like yogurt in it, sometimes I give them yogurt as well, a little bit of yogurt with their food to, introduce more lactobacillus into their diet. I just give it as a treat. I don't give it every day. But if I have something like that that's kind of, milky and moist and I don't want it on the ground, I can put it in this little hanging plate system that I developed. And then these two things here are just another way to mount. They're movable. You can put your 5-gallon bucket in and have them get access to the food or the water like I have in the coops, but you can do it from these little standing things. You can see I don't use it that often. So that's how I feed my chickens and water them.